Hey everybody, Jake and Whitney. We have a big trip for this episode. We're going to have to split it into two parts. So for the next two drops, you're going to hear about our travels from Crescent City down to Pinnacles National Park and then back up Highway 1/101. So we're just going to go ahead and get started, I guess.
We were like under 500 miles. I want to say it's like 480 miles or something from us to Pinnacles National Park. So me being the national park enthusiast that I am was like, we need to go because we didn't get to go to that one when we were here last time.
What, less than 500 miles, and the drive took us 12 hours to get down there the day that we went.
That was quite a long drive. Traffic sucks.
Yeah, we got stuck on the interstate. I think if we did it again, I would just say we should go 101 all the way through. I'd rather go through San Francisco south than battle through the East Bay again and go through Oakland and that whole area, because I feel like that was where it was worst. On the way back north, when we came through San Francisco, I know we split it up over 2 days. Like we drove up through San Francisco and then stayed on the north side of San Francisco and then left the next day to come back up here. So it was kind of distributed over 2 days. But even driving up through that whole area, the 2 days leading up to us being home, that was infinitely better.
We just didn't spend nearly as much time sitting in traffic. But if we had done that, you wouldn't have gotten to go to your brewery.
No. So on the way south, we stopped in Garberville,
Garberville.
Huh?
Garberville.
Garberville?
Yeah.
Oh.
Get it right. You got to tell people the right thing.
I didn't spell it right. My notes say Garberville.
I'm pretty sure I've corrected you on that once already.
My phone says Garberville. Okay, so Garberville, California. We stopped at Il Forno Bakery. And I think much to our surprise, we got over there. You saw that they had really high reviews, so we decided to stop over there. And I think when we walked in, we were both, I think neither one of us
leery.
neither one of us really wanted to get anything because neither one of us were completely sure about whether or not anything looked good. But we had decided, you had already said you were in a donut mood.
Always in a donut mood.
And they had one donut left in the display case.
Which should have been enough of an indicator for us that it was going to be good.
Yeah, because I don't know what time it was and how late in the day it was, but they only had one donut left. So if they only had one donut left, that should have said something. And the donut ended up being a smoke show.
It was definitely deceiving.
And you didn't want it. When I ordered it, you almost fought back and said not to get it.
It didn't look like it was gonna be good. Never judge a book by its cover.
And then we also got a cheese and blueberry Danish, and I think the cheese and blueberry Danish was okay.
It was good.
I wouldn't have to get it again.
No, we would get all the donuts.
They had other stuff that I would get before going back to the blueberry and cheese Danish, but the donut was soft and tender and had an amazing glaze and had your little crunchy round sprinkles on it.
It did have those sprinkles.
Yeah.
It had Mary Lee donut sprinkles. Those are the best kind of donut sprinkles.
But yeah, I mean, all my notes say is that the donut was fantastic and that the cheese and blueberry Danish did not have a great ratio whenever it came to the pastry and then the fruit and the cheese filling. So
the donut was almost reminiscent of like a mochi donut because it was like kind of chewier than a normal donut.
I don't know. I just thought it was a super soft, good donut. I never drew a parallel from that to a mochi donut, but if you say that, then I believe that. No? But we got done there, and then, I mean, the next thing we get to, we didn't do much. We were trying to get down to the national park that day, so...
We knew how long our drive was going to be, so we did not plan any significant stops.
No, I mean, we stopped, and we used the restroom. We had to use the restroom. We didn't walk around that much. We didn't do many stops. I don't feel like we...
Did we even stop for lunch?
I don't know.
Oh, PetSmart. We ate in the parking
We
lot,
ate in
didn't
the
we?
parking lot at PetSmart and decided not to go to Total Wine after PetSmart said they didn't have a public restroom, and we let Sandy go into Best Buy and act like a total maniac. And the woman judged her, and then we judged her in turn. Um, so terrible traffic through the East Bay area. And then since we were going through Oakland, I've had my eye on a brewery in that area for quite some time. So I went ahead and while we were eating lunch, I pre ordered a few 4 packs. I ordered a porter, a West Coast Pills, and an IPA from Ghost Town in Oakland. They have multiple locations. I ordered from the West Oakland location that is dog friendly, does have an abundant amount of indoor seating, and then had really nice outdoor seating.
Yeah, Sandy and I sat in the car, but in the van, but from where we were, it looked like it would be a nice place to hang out.
It wasn't climate controlled outdoor, but it doesn't matter because they were dog friendly indoor. There were multiple dogs in the brewery.
And were there not heaters out there?
I don't know. I mean, if the weather's that nasty, I'm just going to sit inside. As long as there are seats inside, they weren't busy. I don't remember what day we were going through there, but it wasn't super busy. Um, More terrible traffic. We were on Interstate 580 and Interstate 880, and it was horrible. We were in afternoon rush hour traffic.
It was pretty much once we got through Santa Rosa, I think, which is significantly north
North of San
the Bay
Francisco.
Area.
Yeah.
We started hitting traffic, and then we're pretty much in traffic until we got
Out of the Bay Area.
well below Oakland. I don't
We
know all the
were
different towns.
we were still in traffic by the time we got back on 101, and I feel like it was a good ways after we got back onto 101 before the traffic finally let off. I don't remember. It was that last little town that we went through, and I'm not going to be able to remember the name of it. And I was hoping we were going to pass a Walmart because we got headlamps for this trip because Pinnacles National Park has caves, and when you have caves, you need a light source. And a good light source for whenever you need to use your hands to navigate a cave is headlamps. So we ordered some nice Nightcore headlamps off of Amazon and had those delivered to the trailer ahead of us leaving on our trip. And I immediately put them in my I want to say dresser, but it's a
quote unquote closet.
Closet next to our bed in the travel trailer, and forgot to put them in the van at any point before we left. So we had no headlamps for Pinnacles. But we got to Pinnacles. We ended up staying at the campground at the national park. We got there that night, set up in the dark, which isn't that bad in the van.
It's not bad at all in the van.
It's not bad at all.
Even if we have to do any leveling in the dark, it's not bad because it's as simple as putting out one block and driving up on it.
Which we didn't have to do. We got into our spot. It's tight in the section we were in. We weren't in the camp,
the full hookup.
Yeah, well, they didn't even have full hookups. Yeah. I don't know what they were.
Water and electric, I think.
Water and electric. Water? I don't even know if they had water. It might have just been electric, but we were in the like campsite part of the park where the tents were and the
lots of vans,
the cabins, and then lots of vans, and then there was one bougie van that had to be set up where all the travel trailers and fifth wheels were.
And in case anybody is wondering, if you want to make a reservation and stay, this annoyed me. Jake just rolled his eyes because he knows where I'm going. If you want to make a reservation and stay in the campground at Pinnacles National Park, you use recreation.gov to make the reservation, but you cannot reserve just Friday or just Saturday night. If you're making the reservation online or on the phone, you have to reserve Friday and Saturday night together. Well, we got there Thursday night and we're just planning on staying Thursday night and Friday night. So I was able to reserve Thursday night online. And then Friday morning when they opened, I was able to go in person and add Friday night. But we had to change sites, which isn't a big deal because we were in the van. But it's just good information to know if you're planning a trip to Pinnacles and are planning on staying in the campground.
It's so much easier to have the van and we drive the van every day. So the van's getting moved versus if we were in the travel trailer, then it's get there. And then if this would have been, we never would have made it
We
in 12 hours if we were
oh
in
definitely
the
we would have
truck and
that would have
travel
been a
trailer.
2 day drive.
2 day drive, get there, set the trailer up, unhook the truck, drive the truck wherever we need to go. And then if we have to move spots, I mean, it's
We
hours
we would have had
collectively.
to we would have had to stay for 3 nights so that we could just make one reservation for the whole time and not have to move the trailer because that would have wasted the whole day.
Yeah, and it would have changed the trip completely because it would have changed our drive time. We never would have made it there in the time it took us to do it in the van.
That's why we didn't end up doing the trip when we were here last time because it would have been 2 days driving down, 2 days driving back, and then
I mean, that's 4 days right
yeah,
there.
3 days there, which would be plenty, but 4 days of driving for 3 days of being in one place is
And it's
a
nowhere
little
near the same
extreme.
trip that we just had. So, no, the van is a game changer for sure. But the next day, we ended up going over to the campground store and picked up a headlamp because the first trail that Whitney had us going on required us going into a cave. And we didn't know, I didn't necessarily want to go into a cave with just our phones and sit there and just have one hand to navigate with and then worry about dropping a phone.
And I think Bear Gulch Cave is more doable than Balconies Cave with a headlamp or with just a cell phone, but I could definitely be wrong about that. So it was nice having it. You walked around behind me.
And when y'all hear thumps and slaps, it's just Sandy jumping off the sofa and shaking. And if you can hear her lapping up water right now, then that's just Sandy doing Sandy things. But yeah,
She's participating.
I just followed you through the cave with the headlamp.
But I used my cell phone to like walk upstairs and stuff.
Yeah.
But it was cool. We did Bear Gulch Cave. Well, we did, it started off at Moses Spring Trail and then it goes into Bear Gulch Cave. You can do the Moses Spring Trail as a loop and not go into the cave, I think. Obviously, I wanted to go into the cave and out to.
And the cave was tight. Before we get to the lake, the cave was tight.
Yeah.
Like
And
I'm 6'2", fairly broad. I'm not as big as some guys are. Like some guys are just big corn-fed men. I'm not like that. But I mean, I'm 6'2". I'm 205 pounds. I'm broad.
and we didn't make it. And you insist on wearing a
I do insist on wearing my ruck every
that
time we
thing
go on a hike so that I can have water and actually
and beat up our water bottle on
and
cave walls.
beat the crap out of our water bottle. So there were sections where I had to take the ruck off and hand it to Whitney and then duck walk crouched through some sections in order to get through. But it
And
wasn't bad.
no, and Bear Gulch Cave is split into two sections. There's an upper section and a lower section. From my understanding, the lower section, which is what we did, is always open. They unless there's like inclement weather, or they might periodically, very rarely, close it for bats. But Upper Cave is rarely open. And the website, the NPS website, said that it was closed when we were there. So I didn't even think to ask the ranger when I went into the store to get the headlamp and my souvenirs. But I expected there to be something like at the
Blocking.
cave, yeah, denoting that it's closed, but there was nothing, like nothing across the cave entrance or the cave exit.
No, there was nothing to stop anybody that had shown up and not done their due diligence and checked the website.
Well, so that's what I don't know if maybe we know how good the NPS is at updating the website
Yeah, we
based on
do.
the Damnation Creek Trail. But I don't know if maybe it is open and they haven't updated the website, and
That's
you can
possible.
just ask the ranger to find out the current information. So I would suggest asking a ranger before going into the cave to find out if you can do both parts or not.
Or if it's closed, they should do a better job making sure that the trail is actively marked as
Yeah.
closed. That's my thing. Like if it's not actively marked as closed, then it's not closed. There's nothing you can do about it. If somebody goes in there and gets hurt because of the conditions and you say, oh, well, it's not our responsibility because the trail was closed. It's like, how am I supposed to know that? I didn't.
Unless maybe just a section of it is closed and you could go like partway in and then it gets blocked off. Because we didn't, like, once we got to the split, we didn't go in at all. We just saw, like, oh, this is Upper Cave.
No,
Let's.
because you were like, this is technically supposed to be closed.
So we didn't get to do Upper Cave, but it's okay. I want to go back to this park because I really enjoyed it. So
Yeah.
we'll do it someday.
But we got out of the cave. And does the lake have a name?
I want to say it's Bear Gulch Reservoir.
Okay. Which was really pretty. We walked around part of it. It would have been nice if we would have brought some beers and had some beers to sit and drink looking at the water and hang out for a little while.
But this was our first. So this was our first. I guess that's a lie. It's not our first national park trip in the van because we did go to Acadia last year, but that was a little bit different because all we did there was paddleboard.
Oh, are you saying you were worried about
which,
her?
Yeah, which we brought Sandy with us. So this was our first like hiking national park trip with Sandy, and none of the trails in Pinnacles are dog friendly. So we had to leave Sandy in the van when we did all these hikes. And so this was our first time doing that, and I didn't want to leave her for a super long time in case she didn't tolerate it well. So that's the main reason we didn't bring beer.
And she doesn't tolerate things well to begin with. So, yeah, we were worried about leaving her for too long. Was there anything else about I don't want to blow past the trail if you don't get to say everything about it that you wanted to.
No, it was just really pretty. The reservoir was pretty, and then we hiked back on the rim trail, which had some really nice views. And walking out to Teaching Rock was the spot where we walked out to the little overlook point. It wasn't a true overlook, like there was no like overlook deck or anything there, but like we walked out to that point where we were kind of right above the canyon, and then we walked back. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
No.
You would recognize the pictures.
That's why I keep saying I need to do a better job taking pictures.
But it was the point where we were walking back on the rim trail, and we branched off to the right, and there were anchors where people can
where
climb.
the climbers were.
Do you remember the spot that I'm talking about now?
I remember anchors.
But that spot kind of reminded me of a place that we went in Zion, I think, when we hiked up to Angel's Landing, Scouts Lookout, and we were like in the middle of the canyon valley. I'm tired, y'all. I can't think. I worked last night.
Oh, you didn't take any concentration pills earlier, did you?
I think I did.
Okay.
I don't remember. Anyways, Teaching Rock, if you see it on all trails, it was a really pretty viewpoint.
And I didn't think the trail was that bad. The only thing I would say is there are sections of the cave that if you are not a mobile person, they would be difficult to get through. And if you're a larger person than me, then there are some spots where if you are larger than me and not quite mobile, then it could be tricky.
And if you are larger, don't bring a backpack, because that just makes it harder.
Just bring butter, lube yourself up, and squeeze through.
And watch your head.
Speaking of butter.
Oh, but wait. Is it worth mentioning that these are not normal caves? These are not like underground caves. These are what are called talus caves. And that's formed from like slot canyons having rocks and boulders fall on top of them. So it's not like a true enclosed cave. There were still spots in most places where you could kind of look up and see a little bit of sky if you looked in the right area.
Yeah.
Which I think that was our first time being in any type of cave like that.
I don't know. Probably.
But it was cool. What about butter?
Breakfast.
Such good pancakes.
So we finished the hike, went back to the van. Doug was in the van, so we didn't have to go back to the campground to get to Doug. Doug was in the van. She didn't tear anything up. And Whitney, to my surprise, asked if I wanted to go get breakfast because I had a breakfast place marked like 30 minutes.
35 minutes, yeah.
35 minutes back in the direction that we came from whenever we got to the park. And she wanted to kill some time before we went and did the next thing that we had to do. And we had plenty of time in the day, so we figured why not go to the breakfast place? What?
I think I just burped up hot sauce. That hurt.
To the breakfast place that I had saved, which is Flapjacks. And I think it's Flapjacks Breakfast and Grill in Tres Pinos, California. And what?
I was just wondering what that city is. I didn't ever look at where it actually was.
Tres Pinos.
South of Hollister would be the biggest, like the closest to big town
I
city.
mean, if you're at Pinnacles National Park and you search pancakes, then Flapjacks is going to be the only place that pops up within a reasonable driving distance.
And it's worth the drive.
It was amazing. It was so much. I had high expectations for it to begin with because whenever I looked at it, I was like, oh, pancakes. And then they had so many reviews that mentioned pancakes. And there was one singular picture of the banana walnut pancakes in the reviews, and I was married to it automatically. And I was not prepared for it to be as good as it was.
I think half of the reason it was so good is because it was just absolutely swimming in warm maple syrup.
It was easily a quarter gallon of syrup that was poured over these It was a ton.
A quart.
A quart.
That's
and we ate it all.
That's like our coffee jar.
Yeah.
That's not that much.
Do you remember how big that plate was and how deep it was? Do I need to do the math to figure out what the total volume of the liquid was minus the displacement of the pancakes?
You might have to.
Plus, the pancakes had a factor of absorption, so there was some volume
on that.
There was a little bit of volume lost. But it was good. It was so good.
We should have, I want to say we should have just gotten 2 orders of pancakes, but that burrito was really good too.
We didn't know how good the pancakes were going to be. And had we known how good the pancakes were going to be, then I would have said we should have gotten 2 orders of pancakes. But like you said, the burrito was good.
Second best burrito of the trip.
And you like having sweet and savory stuff for us to split.
Do you
I do
not?
too. No, I do too, but you're always the one that brings it up and says we should do that.
I'm always trying to get you some protein.
And it was good.
But the pancakes were the best.
Yeah, I mean, the burrito was good, but the burrito couldn't hold. I wouldn't tell anybody not to get the burrito. If you like breakfast burritos, for sure, get the breakfast burrito. But if you like pancakes and you like breakfast burritos, the pancakes. Get the pancakes.
We're definitely better. But the pancakes were outstanding.
Tim wouldn't have liked the pancakes.
Screw Tim.
They were close to fat Irish pub pancakes.
They were.
I thought they were very, very, very similar to fat Irish pub pancakes.
They were, definitely.
Which is probably why I liked them so much. But it was an obnoxious amount of syrup that was boiling. Like I burnt my mouth. I was not at all anticipating the syrup being as hot as it was. It was more than a fair amount of bananas. And they did not skimp on the walnuts either.
Yeah.
The whole thing was, I was impressed. I don't remember what the rating is for Flapjacks on Google Maps, but it's not as high as it should be. If you're just going for pancakes, it was really good. Granted, you could go and you might not like the same kind of pancakes that Whitney and I like, and you go over there and you get them and you're like, what the heck are they talking about? These pancakes are disgusting. So don't take our advice.
But it was also nice because they had outdoor seating, a nice outdoor patio that we were able to sit at with Sandy.
They had outdoor seating that was dog friendly, so that was good.
So once we shoveled down all our food, we went back to the campground for a little while.
Walked the dog for a little while.
Did we go for any reason other than that to just walk?
No, we just went back to the campground.
Oh, we went because I wanted to wait until later in the afternoon to do our next hike because the ranger told me.
You wanted to wait for the condors.
So our next hike we did do you have it written down?
Condor Gulch Trail.
Up to the High Peaks Trail because there's supposed to be a good viewpoint for watching
condors,
California condors. So the ranger told me to go after 3 to hopefully see some condors. So we went back to the campground to just kill some time and
we definitely went there after 3.
Yeah, we went and walked Sandy for a while, and then we headed out to that hike.
I'd say we walked Sandy for a few miles, so we probably walked for close to an hour at the campground.
Yeah.
And weren't in any big hurry.
And we were eyeballing everybody else's stuff like we always do.
Oh, is that the day that couple got there with the mural painted on the side of their imported Unimog?
And it's also the day that we realized that there was a Los Angeles Airstream
a lot.
club
Yeah, they were
meetup
there.
or something going on at the campground.
Yeah, all the Airstream cool people were there. But I thought the Condor Gulch Trail was neat. We possibly saw one condor,
From very far away while it was flying.
and I just say possibly because it was so far away. I'm 99% confident that what we saw was a condor. It had the right color markings in order to be a condor. So I don't think there was that much question about it. And they're large enough that even when you see them from a long distance away, like crows don't have white stripes under their wings and they don't look that big from that far away. So we saw a condor, but we sat at the first spot and drank a beer and then continued up the trail to High Peaks and found
We did,
another spot.
we didn't go to the High Peaks. We went to the High Peaks Trail.
Okay. And then we got to another spot and it was windy and we didn't like that spot. So we turned around and we backtracked slightly and then we picked a different spot to sit and drink our second beer and decided that we weren't going to see any more condors. And then was that one of the trails that we ran down from to get back to the van
Yeah, we
in a
ran down a
reasonable amount of time?
good bit of it, and that was the trail.
That was when we saw the rescue mission.
Yeah, somebody, I don't know what had happened, but when we were headed up, somebody walking down looked at us and was like, "Are y'all part of the rescue team?" And we knew something was going on because there was an ambulance parked at the trailhead
Yeah.
and not a bunch of rangers,
Well,
but
that was
like
the
some
ambulance we
rangers.
saw at the campground.
Yeah. So we were hiking up and we knew there was something going on. And then we were on the trail and it was a pretty narrow trail, maybe what, 2.5 feet wide,
Call it 3 feet
3 feet
wide, but that's
wide.
still not very wide.
And we had to figure out a spot to step off the trail while they were rolling. There was probably 12-ish rescue personnel. It was a big
It
group
was a
of
big
them
group. It was a giant group.
with a guy on a stretcher being rolled out. So hopefully he's doing okay. But that was our first time ever seeing anything like that on a hike,
Yeah.
and we've done quite a bit of hiking.
And they had their stretcher that was on like a one wheel off-road tire setup, and they had people at every corner trying to navigate it.
Yeah, because it
It
was a
was an
rocky trail too.
insane amount of people out there for a rescue mission.
But yeah, that was a nice hike. It had nice views when we got up high.
So we did that and ran back downhill and got back to the van before it got dark and got back to the dog before the dog lost all confidence that we were never coming back.
And that was when we discovered the woodpecker.
That was the trail that you saw
Oh
the
my
woodpecker
goodness.
that had pecked all the holes in the tree and had hidden acorns in all the
It's
holes.
so funny. Acorn woodpeckers apparently peck little holes into dead trees and then stuff their little acorns into trees.
I'll try to remember to post the picture
so that they have food throughout the winter when food is harder to find. It was insane looking.
For the release post that I do for this episode, I'll try to remember to post the picture of the nuts in the tree that Whitney took.
So yeah, we finished that and then went home for the night. Home being back to the campground in the van. And that was that for that day.
That was it for the east side of the park.
Yes.
Because we woke up the next day, did our coffee, and had our walk.
Yeah, next morning we got up
hung
pretty
out
early.
With the turkeys.
Oh yeah, the turkeys in the park were great.
The turkeys in the park were amazing.
That was our first time ever staying in a national park campground. And if they're all like that, we need to do it more often because there were so many animals.
Well, this was a very animal-filled trip. Like, we're going to get to more animals in a little while, but I mean, there were rabbits in the campground.
Tons of rabbits.
The turkeys were nuts because the turkeys didn't care. We saw one raccoon.
A trash panda.
We saw a trash panda one morning that we didn't want to bother and scare or anything.
We saw a few black-tailed deer.
A few deer, yeah.
But yeah, that was really enjoyable, seeing all the animals.
So we woke up and drank our coffee and walked around for a little while in order to get moving and get Sandy moving a little bit. And then we drove to the west side of the park. So there's a mountain range in the middle of the park. They can't connect the road through the park. So to get from the westernmost portion of the east side of the park to the easternmost portion of the west side of the park, It's depending on how quick you can drive, you can probably drive quicker than Whitney and I, but it's about an hour and a half to get from one point to the other. So we drove over to the other side of the trail and went to the Chaparral
That's my guess.
Chaparral Trailhead, and um, there was still parking. We got there at 9:15 in the morning. I wrote 9:15
On a
on a
Saturday.
Saturday,
Yeah,
and there was
on a
still
Saturday.
parking. I still say if you are staying at the campground on the east side of the park and you want to go to the west side of the park and you want to park at the trailhead for Chaparral, what are the trails that break off from there? What was the cave trail?
That's Balcony Cave.
Balcony
Balcony's
Cave,
Cave.
and then the other trails that are over there. Get there early. Don't wake up and be lackadaisical and take your time and just expect there to be parking. There's not a lot of parking at the trailhead, and then the next closest parking spot is a quarter mile away, and I don't know how big that parking lot was. So if you don't want to walk an extra quarter mile, get it in gear and get to the other side of the park quickly. And they open the gate for the entrance to the other side of the park at 7:30.
Yes, and should we mention the road to the Chaparral parking area?
What about it? How narrow it is?
Yeah.
It's a narrow road. We did it in the van. I did it in the van. You'll be fine.
Well, yeah, but go slow because
Go
there are
slow.
there are
Drive like it's a one
one
lane road.
lane blind curves, and if you're driving like a maniac through there, and somebody is coming through the curve from the opposite direction, it will not end well.
Especially if you're both driving like you don't have any sense, then it can get pretty squirrely pretty quick.
But yeah, we made it in the van. I was nervous because there were so many comments, don't bring large vehicles back there. There was actually a Class C parked back there
There
while we were.
was a Class C
I would
parked back
not have
there.
wanted to drive that thing back
There
there.
was a full-on RV that somebody took down that road. So if they made it, I have all the faith in the world that you can make it. It wasn't that bad. It was a one-lane road. Drive like you have some sense. Drive like it's a one-lane road. Drive like you don't know what's around the corner. How about that? So yeah, we made it over there. It wasn't that bad.
And then I had 2 hikes picked out in that area. I wanted to do.
We walked around the parking lot for a little while trying to get Sandy unwound a little bit before we abandoned her.
And then we took off on the Juniper Canyon Loop Trail that includes the High Peaks Trail. So we actually went up into the High Peaks, which is where the condors like to hang out. So we did that loop, and it was cool. Had some really nice views on that trail, and then there was some cool. They call it the.
It
There's
was a
a
moderately difficult trail. I wouldn't call it strenuous. I don't think I would call it strenuous. It had a decent amount of elevation gain.
All Trails says we did 1,400 feet of elevation, and the trail was a total of 4.4 miles.
I didn't feel like it was all that much. I feel like we're in better hiking shape than we think we are.
Even though you bitched about how fast I was making us go.
You can't use foul language. I do not have this podcast marked as being an expletive containing podcast.
Nobody heard that.
Nobody heard that. We'll see if we get flagged for having one B word in the podcast. What did I complain about?
How fast I make us hike.
Oh, you walk so fast.
I don't.
I don't know. I walk fast on flat ground, and then you put me on an incline, and I slow down to
You're
like half my speed.
Lollygagger.
I'm not. I hike at my own pace. Okay.
But anyways, we did the loop counterclockwise, and I don't think it would have made a difference going. Like, I don't think one way would be better than the other, counterclockwise or clockwise. Do you?
No, there wasn't any section that we got to that I was like, I wouldn't want to go up this up. I wouldn't want to go down this down. There was no section.
It was pretty evenly distributed.
Some of the steps that we went up might have been a little daunting for some people going down, but there were some steps that we went down that might have been a little daunting for people going up.
Yeah, I think it was pretty even throughout.
Yeah.
As far as like what you went up, you had to go down something that was really similar.
Yeah, so it wasn't that bad. Are we going to talk about the mating condors?
We did hang out once we got up to the high peaks looking for condors because we met people going. We seemed to go the opposite direction of most people.
Most
for
people
whatever
were
reason.
going the opposite direction.
But we met some people that were going the opposite direction. They were like, we saw some condors, go, 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 and they'll probably still be there. So we got up, and when we got to like an open area, because there were a lot of like narrow ledges
Yeah.
that if you stood on them, you would be blocking the entire path for everybody else. So once we got to like a big open area, we hung out for maybe 20 minutes or so.
Yeah, and
Just
saw nothing.
hanging around looking for condors and didn't see a thing. And then I was finally like, I was able to get a little bit of reception and check on Sandy on the camera, and she was making some little whining noises. So I was like, we need to go. And so we started heading on and got to, of course, one of the super narrow sections where you're on a ledge with just
we were on a balcony walkway.
Oh, we were on the balcony. And
fortunately there was a boulder that I could climb up on top of to get out of people's ways.
A boulder in between no, it was in between a ledge and then the balcony walkway thing. But we spotted, was it 3 that we spotted right off the bat that came, or was it 4?
There were like 3 or 4 that came cresting over the ridge line.
Yeah, the ridge line that was in front of us that we were headed in the direction of. So they came over, and people were trying to get past us, so we were able to climb up on a boulder out of the way. And
well, there was one that came over that was flying around for a little while, and then more came in after it, because we were just watching one at one point, and then 2 or 3 more came in. So there were 4 total that we were watching, and then 2 of them landed on
a rock, probably 50 yards out.
Yeah, I guess.
Maybe farther. I don't know. It's hard to tell when you're just looking over space.
I was going to say 100, but I don't know.
Yeah, probably. But there were 2 that landed, and one of them definitely started mounting the other one and doing his big wing thing. Is that establishing his dominance?
Spreading. He might have been doing a mating dance. I don't know. It's been a while since I've watched the Discovery Channel to know what the cordial mating ritual is for California condors.
But I thought it was cool too, because we read the day before, we were wondering what noise condors make, and we read that they don't make noise very often. Isn't that what it said?
Yeah.
And
they don't have some type of they don't have the vocal cords necessary to make a lot of noise.
But the 2 that were either the mounter or the Mountie were definitely making some noises over there that we could hear from however far away we were.
I imagine she wasn't very happy about it. I imagine he was having a ball.
You don't know that.
Well, I don't know, maybe not. So we saw that and continued down the trail from there. That was another one we ran down.
We ran most of the way down that one, probably a couple mile and a half of it. We ran maybe
solid mile and a half, probably more than that, in order to try to make good time. And I like running down at this point. I feel like we're in good enough running shape that if we get on as long as it's not, so don't make it like pea gravel, like super loose pea gravel, and don't make it extremely steep. But that whole way down felt super gradual. It wasn't that extreme. Most of the ground was
loose.
No, it was pretty sturdy the whole way down. I could do that all day long.
That's why I want to find an all downhill half marathon to run.
So that wasn't bad. And it also feels nice to be the only people on the trail that can do that.
Yeah, until we got to another hike that we did later in this trip and people were running uphill while we were walking.
Yeah, but there's always somebody that's more of a beast than you are on the trail. So
unfortunately,
we did that. We got down to Sandy and walked her a little bit, and we're preparing to go on the next hike that Whitney had, which was I can't remember. You've already said the name of it twice.
Balcony's Cave.
Balcony's Cave.
I really wanted to do Balcony's Cave, and we knew that there was potential bad weather coming in.
Well, rain was supposed to be coming in at 3 p.m. and at this point it was 12:31,
1 o'clock, something like that.
We had eaten lunch. We needed to get back out there.
We were walking Sandy to get her a little bit of exercise before we were going to go. And this one's a short hike, maybe a little over 2 miles. There's not a lot of elevation. I was like, we can just leave.
But you still want to hang out.
Yeah, but I was like, we can just leave all of our stuff in the van, just bring the headlamp, and we can just run all of the parts of the trail that aren't in the balcony.
Yeah.
Or in the cave, just to make it go by a little bit quicker. But then we were walking Sandy to put her back in the van, and it started raining and sleeting on us. So we unfortunately decided to forego that trail.
So we canceled that. And then the trip changed drastically very quickly. We went from being on a national park, Whitney type trip to we had to go get gas first. So we drove over to I forget which town and got gas.
Didn't we? No, we went to the winery first.
No, we didn't. We went and got gas first and then we went to the winery. Yeah.
Are you talking about when we got gas when we got breakfast? Because we got a little bit of gas the day before.
Yeah, but then before when we left the park, we drove to whatever town it was that was on the way. It doesn't matter. So at some point we got gas, and at some point we went to the winery, and the winery was Wrath Winery in Soledad, California, and we hit it on a perfect day. I don't. I think I think I would go back. Everything about the winery was enjoyable and left a very good impression on me. The only thing that didn't leave a very good impression was the wine. It just it wasn't exactly my type of wine. It was enjoyable. I didn't get any off flavors off of it. I didn't think anything about it was bad. It was just none of it was the type of wine that I generally gravitate to.
Hmm.
So we never, I don't know. We had some, I was wrapped up in the experience. So there were some that we were drinking. And I was like, this is good. But then I'd get to like a third or fourth sip and I'd be like, this just isn't quite right.
I guess I'm drinking the bottles we bought by myself.
We did buy 2 bottles. We did spend a lot of money on 2 bottles. We decided that buying 2 bottles and canceling out the price of our wine flight made sense. But then we bought an off menu bottle, so we have no idea how much it was.
And you keep forgetting that the price of the glass that we drank is included
The price of the glass
in
that we
that total that
drank
we.
is
It
included.
wasn't just 2 bottles that we spent that much money on.
And I guess it's also not that bad if you factor in the fact that we ate all their food.
We did eat their food.
So they were having a club members pickup day for their wines. So they had a big spread. They had a big old nice charcuterie board. There was some amazing aged cheddar that I ate like half a pound of by myself. There was some grainy uh
Bread?
bread with seeds. I was thinking seedy. I
Multigrain?
was thinking grainy, seedy bread that was really good that we liked. Fruits, olives. We ate some olives. We got our money's worth out of the members only food tray that they put out, and Sandy got some cheese.
Sandy got lots of cheese.
One of the women there, both of the women were super friendly. One of the women there was definitely a dog pleaser. If your dogs came in that day, they were getting something from her. They were super friendly. They were more than generous with the pours for the wine flight. They were more than willing to pour you stuff that wasn't on the flight. They were more than willing to pour you stuff from bottles that were already open. I think they might have even opened bottles
Yeah, I
at
think they
some
did.
point to do samples for stuff. Amazing experience. Yes, I would go back. I don't I don't know. Maybe my palate was off that day. I don't I'm not sure. I wrote that it wasn't quite as in line with my palate as sound and vision is, but we would go back whenever we came back through. So we did that. We got 2 bottles to go, and then continued into Carmel by the sea and went to a brewery that I've been waiting a long time to go to. And I don't even think they go by Yeast of Eden anymore. Apparently, from the conversations we had with people at the winery and then speaking to them at the brewery, the Yeast of Eden nomenclature kind of fell off, which was the Saison / mixed fermentation side of the brewery of Alvarado Street Brewing. So we went to Alvarado Street Brewing, got a pizza, got a couple of beers, and got one Yeast of Eden Saison bottle to go, which was way more cost effective than drinking a 7-ounce pour for $11 at the brewery. We got a 750 milliliter bottle for $10, right?
10 or 12.
10, yeah, I think it was $10 for a 750 ml bottle versus getting a 7-ounce pour for $11, which I don't know. Somebody way smarter than me needs to explain brewery economics to me, because I don't understand all these breweries that are complaining about how hard it is to stay in business and then do stuff that just makes absolutely no sense. But I'm sure they know more than me, and my little brain just can't comprehend it. So it's probably a me problem and not a them problem. Pizza was good.
The pizza was good.
The beer was okay. Beer was good.
Yeah, we each only got one beer, right?
We each only got one beer, and we got the saison to go. Um, if we went back to Carmel, I would go back to Alvarado. I think I'd go back to Alvarado Street.
Yeah, if the weather
I'd
was
get the
nice and you
pizza
could sit
again.
outside.
Sitting outside with a dog. They
Pe-
had outdoor seating that was dog friendly, so as long as the weather's nice, then you can go there.
And it's right in the middle of like a big shopping restaurant area.
I put in my notes that you weren't that impressed with the pizza. So was there something about the pizza that you didn't like that much?
I said I wished it was cooked a little bit more.
You thought it
The
was
dough,
doughy.
it was just the dough was a little bit soft, but I mean it was really good. I liked the amount of dough that it was, and I liked the style of the dough. I wish it had just been cooked a teeny tiny bit more.
So we did that. Alvarado Street, finished up over there. I got a West Coast IPA. I thought it was okay. It's not quite the West Coast IPA that I want, but I'm in a very particular mood for West Coast IPA. So what they had was definitely a West Coast IPA. It just wasn't what I'm necessarily in the mood for. But other than that, I thought everything was pretty good. We left Alvarado Street. Do you remember the name of what that shopping complex was called?
I don't, but I can see if it comes up. I don't even know if it had a.
It might not even have a name. So we were in a big shopping center. If you go to Carmel by the sea and you look up Alvarado Street Brewery, then you'll find it, and you'll be in this massive shopping complex. There are all sorts of stores in there.
Carmel Plaza.
Carmel Plaza. It's like a 2-story complex that's open in the center.
I think it was 3 stories
Was it? I almost said
in
3.
sections because it was kind of on a hill, so there were like sections that had 3 levels and sections that had 2 levels.
So we ended up leaving Alvarado and walked around and we're looking for stuff. Did you know that Dutch Door Donuts was there, or did we just stumble past it?
I didn't know that it was there. I knew that there was a place. They have a couple of locations in that area, and I knew that there was a Dutch Door Donuts in that area, not like that shopping center, but in that city that had high reviews and I
Okay.
was interested in. So then I think I was just standing there looking at the map, right?
And you saw it?
And saw it.
Yeah, you saw it, and then we beelined for it.
Yeah. And we got there like 30 minutes before they closed.
And I thought they were getting ready to close when I walked in, because I asked the little girl, I was like, "Are y'all closing? Am I walking in at the wrong time?" She's like, "No, we still have another 30 or 45 minutes." And then as they made our donuts, so you go to Dutch Door Donuts, they make your donuts fresh.
Yeah. And they're not mini donuts like
No, they're not. They were like full size donuts.
I think that's the first made, well, whole, like, guess
Whole
in Asheville,
in
North
Asheville.
Carolina is normal sized made to order donuts. But other than that, this is the only like made to order full size donuts. Most of them are mini donuts.
Yeah,
And they were really good. We got the miso caramel and chocolate.
chocolate. The only thing I would say is whenever you look at the display case, you look at the display case and the donuts have this thick, heavy glaze on them. So you think you're
Duke.
getting this glaze. And then because the donuts are hot, whenever they put them in the bucket that the sauces are in, the sauce doesn't adhere that well because the donuts are hot. And she was like ladling it out, trying to get more glaze on the donuts themselves, but the donuts are just hot, so the glaze isn't going to stick. So I'm looking at pictures and they look a little sad, maybe is the right word, whenever you get them. They were delicious though.
But they more glaze is better.
More glaze is better. You're going to be a little disappointed if you look at the display case and expect your donut to come out looking like that with that level of thick glaze. It's not going to. Or I don't know. Your mileage may vary. Maybe you will get donuts that just have a voluptuous layer of super thick glaze on them. The chocolate didn't blow me away. The miso caramel was beautiful.
It was really good.
I
I think
thought
that was our first miso caramel, wasn't it?
it might have been. It was salty. It was kind of savory. It was sweet. I would get a bunch of miso caramels if we went back. I would go back. I love fresh made donuts. I don't it takes a really good donut for me to take like a really good traditional donut from a donut shop and then say I would rather that than a fresh made donut. So I don't know. These were really good. We've had some donuts lately that I might pick over these, but fresh made donuts are really hard to beat.
Yeah, that was. I would go back. And then we left there.
We left there, drove around for a little while, figured out where we were going to park that night.
We went to Cannery Row first.
Did we?
Yeah, we went to Cannery Row that night and got Nico's.
Well, I thought we figured out where we were going to park that night and then went to Cannery Row.
I don't even remember where we parked that night.
I do, and we're not talking about it. So we figured out where we were going to park that night, and then we drove to the other side of town to go to Cannery Row, which Cannery Row in Monterey, California, is just a super touristy. There's no nice way to put it. It's just a touristy tourist trap. Nico's is the only thing over there worth going to. Yeah, I don't know how you do your trips, but they had a Bubba Gump shrimp place over there. So I mean, if them having a Bubba Gump's shrimp factory or whatever it's called over there isn't enough of an indication, the only thing it was missing to be any more touristy was a cheesecake factory.
I'm looking at maps and I saw something that popped up something or the something factory and I was like, oh, I didn't realize they had a cheesecake factory, but it's the sardine factory.
Yeah,
But that's where the Monterey Bay Aquarium is too. So I mean, if you are going to the aquarium,
that is
because
where the
that's a super
Monterey Bay
popular
Aquarium
aquarium.
was. But Nico's is, I don't know if they label themselves. If you go to their website or if you go to their social media, there's one spot where they mention having New Zealand style ice cream. So I don't know if this is like truly a New Zealand style thing, but she essentially has she will scoop vanilla ice cream, hand scoop vanilla ice cream into a bowl, and then add whatever frozen fruit you want, whether it be blackberry, blueberry, strawberry, or raspberry.
Raspberry?
I think there were four. She'll add your fruit, and then there is like a screw in the center that she fits the bowl over, and then the screw mixes everything up and essentially turns it into a soft serve consistency and perfectly blends the fruit into the ice cream. It's magic.
Was it the same as the one that they did at the place that we went to, Nestucca Bay,
Nastuka Bay, it was
and
the
it
same style
fed
as
out the
that.
bottom as
Yeah.
it screwed itself down?
Yeah, and it was expensive. It wasn't cheap ice cream, but it was a fair amount of ice cream for the price we paid. Um and then you can have it topped with either toasted coconut, rainbow sprinkles,
Graham cracker
graham
crumbs,
cracker, or what's the Mexican seasoning? Ta- tahani?
tahine.
Tahine? Or you can have it with that. We got it with toasted coconut. I thought the strawberry that we got with the toasted coconut was a match made in heaven. I loved it. I didn't want to share with Whitney. I kept trying to give her big bites so that she can eat as much as I was eating, but she refuses to take big bites of ice cream.
It's too cold.
It's too cold for my little mouth. So she didn't eat as much as me because she refuses to take as big a bites as me.
You refuse to take as small bites as
I'm
me.
not a child. I take a size of bite that fits my mouth.
Whatever.
So we ate Nico's ice cream. I would go back if we had to go to Cannery Row. Like if we were with people that just had to go to Cannery Row, then I'd be like, fine. If we're going to Cannery Row, we're going to Nico's. If you're gonna make me go to this tourist trap, waste of time destination, I'm at least going to get some Nico's ice cream out of it. So I enjoyed that.
I would probably go to Ghirardelli before I went back to
There
Nico's.
was a Ghirardelli over there. Oh
Just because
man,
Ghirardelli's more my style, because
it
they've got
is.
like
But would you
chocolate.
really rather not give your money to a small business like Nico's than go to Gear? I don't. I don't know.
Ghirardelli provides you with chocolate chips that you eat like a fiend in the trailer when we have them.
I need more chocolate chips to mix with my peanut butter. So I don't know. Yeah, but
You
I
can have
think
Nico's, I'll have Ghirardelli.
I think this is a good stopping point for this episode. This leads us into our next day and kind of fits us into the trip in a way going back north. If we tried to do this all in one episode, it would get out of hand real quick and we would have an episode 1 2 hour situation all over again. And I don't think any of you want that.
Yeah, this was definitely a trip that we knew was going to be big. I had 7 days off of work, and so I we went to Pinnacles, and then our plan, which we didn't really mention, was to head out to the coast because there was a big section of coast we had never been to before. The farthest coming up from the south, the farthest north we had ever been, I think, was San Simeon, and then coming from the north, the farthest south we had ever been was like Point Reyes National, I want to say seashore,
Seashore.
um, or maybe it's National Recreation Area. I don't remember.
Seashore.
But so there was this big section in on the coast that we hadn't been to, so I wanted to hit some of those areas. So that's what we'll talk about the next time.
Yeah, next time, what you have to look forward to is a little bit more in the Monterey area. We're going to go down to Big Sur. We're going to hang out in Santa Cruz. We did a little bit in San Francisco, and then we made our way back north. But
We just got a nice little taste of the area.
this is part one of our trip. This is essentially us going south and enjoying the national park. Do you have any last things about the national park that you wanted to get to? Was there anything that popped into your little mind that you wanted to talk about before we got away from it? Because I know the national park weighs heavy on you.
No, I think we did a pretty good job talking about it. Hopefully, we'll make it back down there at some point and can talk about Balconies Cave and maybe even do some more hikes in there because there's what I think I said like 30 miles of hiking trails, 30 or 31 miles. And
There was a lot more hiking that we could do.
yeah, for sure.
All right. So we are probably going to go straight into recording the next episode. So for y'all are going to have to wait to listen to this episode, and then it'll probably be at least 2 weeks before you get the next episode. But with the way this works, it will just be a continuation of us recording these episodes back to back. So I hope you enjoyed. You don't have anything else to say?
Nope. See y'all later.
Say bye.
Bye.
Bye.